What's going on, guys? It's Thursday and I'm back to help you win another Horizon 5 trial event. This week we have Winner Winner. It is a road racing event for rare classics tuned to B spec. First and foremost, the car I did decide to go with is a 1969 Ferrari Dino 246 GT. I made a tune for it. I'll show that on the screen right now. It is called B700 Road Racing. I'll also show the share code. This event was very strange for me. I completed this event 3 times because the first 2 times, unfortunately, my team kind of screwed up, and it's like we had the lead, and then it kind of fell apart, so we had to go to race 3 a couple times. But every time I tried to do this, I had some kind of weird stuff happen. The footage I'm going to show is probably the weirdest situation I came across. I had, I guess, 1 teammate, maybe even 2, that had poor connection, so they were all lagging all over the place. Like, they'd disappear from the map, they'd appear, and then they'd fly off the track, and they'd be right back on the track. And somehow their connection messed with the AI as well, because AI started to kind of slow down and glitch a little bit, and they ended up falling way behind. So we won very easily. The AI was basically non-existent because of my teammates' connection problems. It's very strange, so it's not typically going to happen. The AI is going to be fairly decent like they usually are. However, this event definitely seems easier to complete than past ones. Your team is not going to be too much of a downer. You're probably going to win in the first 2 races. If not, you're probably going to win in the first couple of attempts if you have to go to race 3. Every time I've done this, my team has been okay. There's been 1 or 2 duds, but usually they're decent enough where they can be in front of like 3 or 4 of the AI minimums, so we're usually ahead in the standings. So you should be okay in that regard. As far as what car you want to use, there's many choices. Like I said, I used the Dino. I made a tune for it. It's more grip based and speed like most of my tunes are, but I think it's fairly balanced. It's definitely better for the first race than it is for the 2 sprint races, but there are other routes you can take if you don't like the Dino or don't have it. A lot of people seem to use the Porsche 911 Carrera RS. It's solid. I have a tune for it. It's not published yet. It's just one I was kind of tinkering with, and it is a very capable vehicle. The Jag E-Type is also a good choice. The Ferrari 365 GTB4. It's definitely a harder one to come across. I think you might have to get it in the auction house. I'm not entirely sure, but that one, the AI seems to be really good with it. So I figure you could probably tune that car and make it very competitive. The Shelby Cobra, a lot of people are going to show up with. I don't really recommend because, like, by default, it's already like a 696, so you can't really do a whole lot to it before it gets out of the B class spec and into A. So there's not really how much you can do to it. I don't really recommend using that. I think the Dino is probably the way to go. The Carrera 2000 GT is also a very good vehicle if you have it. That's another one I've messed with in the past, and it seems to be a very capable car. But if you want to build your own tune, I definitely try to get something that corners relatively well. It's not all about speed in this event, especially in the circuit race, unless you just want to be bouncing off the walls. I did discover something. I noticed this when the game came out. A lot of people don't really seem to know, but a lot of cars you can put the vintage racing tires on it, or some of them also have the white wall vintage racing tires. I put the white wall vintage racing tires on my Ferrari Dino, and they're sneakily good. Like, they don't really cost too many tuning points, and they're on par with the sport tires, which are like another 10-15 points added to it. So the only really downside they have compared to the sport tires, I think, is braking, but they're very good. Like, if you kind of want to cheap out on the tires a little bit on one of these kind of lower end tuning spec builds, the vintage race tires are definitely a good option. They increase your grip, they increase your handling, and they don't cost a whole lot of points. So a lot of people don't really realize they're down there. You just got to scroll down to the bottom. It's usually at the very bottom of the tire list, but they're very good upgrades. I added that. I ended up adding like a 10-speed transmission. I put a spoiler on the back. I don't think what else I did to this car. I lightened it up like I usually do. Put brakes on it, race brakes, race springs. My car, I think it's pretty easy to drive. Anybody can hop into it and be competitive with it. In the 3 attempts I did do this, I never finished worse than second with this car, so you're definitely going to at least be on the podium if you're a decent driver. and like I said earlier, teammates probably aren't going to be that big of an issue in terms of really just shit in the bed where you have to try this a billion times like we had to last week or a couple of the other trial events. I think your team is probably going to be okay. You're probably going to win in the first couple attempts or two. You're probably going to win in the first 2 races. So just kind of take hope in the fact that that is definitely a possibility, and it's probably likely. So even if you have, I guess, a less than perfect car, if you have an average car more or less, if you're a decent driver, you're probably going to be good enough to help your team, get this event done pretty handily. There are a couple tips I would give you. Race 2, towards the end, there's like one of the turns, there's like it's like a hut, like a outhouse kind of thing with a bunch of pallets stacked up next to it. I'll actually probably show a little clip of it right now. Don't run into it. I made the mistake of running into that one time and it pissed me off because I was leading the race. Just be wary of that. They kind of seem in this game, some of the courses, they have random crap just being just a very inconvenient spot, whether it's like a tree or building or something like that. So just be mindful of that. Other than that, I mean, this car is pretty easy to drive if you decide to use it. You'll notice also in my second race, when we come to like the super sharp turns, we have to come to a complete stop pretty much in turn. I was so panicking that my teammates were gonna just completely slam into me. Paranoia got the best of me, so it wasn't the cleanest braking, but I still managed to win and be solid. So you're definitely probably gonna brake a little better than I did as well. But no matter what car you use, I think you're gonna be all right this week. I definitely recommend practicing the 3 races beforehand. I actually made blueprints for them. You can search for my name or buy my name or whatever. Like the first race is in light precipitation, and the other 2 are in post-rain conditions. So it's going to be wet conditions. So I definitely recommend practicing if you feel inclined to do so, because it's a little different driving on the rain in this game. So it's a good idea to practice and to see what kind of get the comfort built up a little bit. Hop into a convoy if you have that option as well. It's always better to complete with friends. Let me know down in the comments what worked for you, how many attempts you had to do this, and if it's a lot easier than last week, because it kind of seems like general consensus is that it's easier. Hopefully it stays this way, where these trial events aren't just an absolute nightmare to complete. If it's like this, it should be a little more fun and a little less agonizing for the whole player base. So let me know down in the comments, like I said, what worked for you, how many attempts you had to go through and that sort of thing. Also, if you need help or just want to talk Forza with a nice community of players, the link to my Discord server is in the description, as well as the share code for the tune if you missed it earlier on in the video. Leave a like if this helped you out. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see these videos every week, along with other future tip videos. There are a few projects I kind of have working on for this game, just different vehicle recommendations, driving tips, and that sort of thing. Feel free to subscribe so you can be here for all of these. That'll do it for me. Good luck and get all these events done, and I'll see you guys next week for another one.